Hello and welcome to the February 9th, 2026 episode of Nick's News. I am your host, Nick, brought to you by Some Budget Studios. That's right, we're paying for this. We're live every Sunday, usually. Tonight we're live on Monday, and I thank you all so much for tuning in or catching the replay on the Nick's News YouTube channel. This is a program dedicated to bringing good news to counter all of the bad news that we are bombarded with on a daily basis, with the hope of bringing a little bit of joy back to the world. Several of our articles are pulled from sites like Industry Tap, Live Science, Positive.News, and GoodGoodGood.co, but we appreciate everything sent in by you, the Nick's Newsies. Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in on this off day for us. As you all know, yesterday, the 8th of February, was the Super Bowl. Congratulations to the Seattle Seahawks on pulling off their second Super Bowl victory. Though I am a Patriots fan, it was, Patriots, we got plenty of wins under our belt. So it was good to see another team get another one. So congrats to the Seahawks and all the Seahawks fans. Please don't call me Christopher. Hello, everybody. Thank you all so much again for joining in. All right, News Brew. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, the Speedway Grand Prix is now underway. Speedway Grand Prix MMXXV Chocolate Pecan Pie Edition has set the pace for the rest of this race. This 12% ABV Imperial Stout from AleSmith Brewing Company is packing cocoa nibs, pecans, vanilla, and coffee under the hood. This entire month, we're going to be on a speedway track of brews, so check out our Instagram to stay in the race. I picked up a 4-pack of assorted Speedway Stouts. They are all Speedway Grand Prix, and they're all themed after different pies. So tonight we've got the chocolate pecan pie to kick things off. And because it is an Imperial Stout, we will have it in our Harpoon Snifter. I don't need the Balisong bottle opener because it's a can, so it'll just blow the gain on the audio. And we'll get into the theatrics of a 5-minute pour. Now, some Speedway Stouts don't run as thick as the motor oil you'd expect them to, especially like last week's News Brew. This one is a little bit thinner. Hello, Dapper Craftsman. Hello, Becky. Hello, Christian. And we want to get every single drop into this glass. A lot of head on it. Wow. Look at that color. Just darkness on darkness. And the camera, the ring light that I have really lights up the head. It is dark brown, so it's always a good sign with a good stout. Set that down. Let that settle just a little bit. And we'll get into our shout-outs. Did you know that I am part of a podcast team? Check out DAINIME, the Daikaiju and Anime Podcast. My friend T and other friends discuss, review, and reflect on giant monsters and Japanese animation. If you love kaiju movies and anime, this is the podcast for you. Links are in the description below. My friend T set this podcast up. It's a phenomenal fun time. I love recording with him and with others that, come in on different episodes. So it's been a blast. Check it out. To T and to DAINIME, the Daikaiju and Anime Podcast. Cheers. That's a pecan pie in a glass with a hefty amount of chocolate on top. Oh my gosh. Mwah. It's a fantastic brew to start this all off. News quote. Being kind means responding to the needs of others, and people can be kind, no matter how old or how young they are. That quote comes from Fred McFeely Rogers, who lived from 1928 to 2003, who was known professionally as Mr. Rogers, the American television personality, Presbyterian minister and author. And who else would you get such a wholesome quote like that from than Mr. Rogers? Hey, Nico. I love all of the work and all of the goodness that can come out of Mr. Rogers' program, as well as just recordings of him in general and stories about his life and his bibliography or his biography. And again, being kind means responding to the needs of others. And people can be kind, no matter how old or young they are. Thank you for that, Mr. Rogers. Cheers. You've really got the triumvirate of kindness in the form of, like, Mr. Rogers, Bob Ross, and Steve Irwin. And I'm sure it expands out off the top of my head. I'm not going to pull a dozen people, but, in the moment, I do think of those three as kind of the big three of kindness. So, bug update. There's not really much to report on the bugs. They're all doing really well, which is really good. And no news isn't necessarily bad news. So it's been very quiet. Bugs have been doing buggy things. Little John's getting his miles in, a lot of steps. He's been kind of doing laps around his tank. Ripley's been pretty content and hasn't been scuttling as much because they tackled a pretty big cricket and now they're just resting. So they're pretty good. The Cuddle Puddle is great. They've been crooning every night. Those are my Madagascar hissing cockroaches, and they sing to one another. It's pretty adorable in terms of bugs. And Sue is a shut-in. He doesn't do much. He hangs out in his hide and menaces me from there. That's about it. So, all's well. I haven't seen Phil the jumping spider, though, in a few days, and I don't know if he's lying low or if he escaped again. I don't have Ripley's tank sealed to keep something as small as him in it. He escaped before, and I would put him back in, but I don't want to further seal that tank up, because then it'll disrupt the ecosystem that I've got going on in there. So he's good to come and go as he pleases. I'm sure he'll turn up somewhere, and if he's just loose in my house, I think that's okay too, because I don't mind. He's just a pretty small, chill jumping spider. All is well in the bug world. Oh, yes, producer Donna had to bring that up. There is a new guest bug. I don't know if the mic will pick him up, but I'm gonna kill him. It's a cricket in my feeder tank behind me. There's a cricket who's got his wings, and he wants to show them off, and he's been chirping pretty often. So if you, see me suddenly turn angrily around to glower at something, it's me glowering at a feeder tank with a singing cricket in it. Becky says, like a platypus, they don't do much. Yes, Becky, I keep, to make sure that the bugs that I'm feeding my bugs are in good health and good quality, I have a feeder tank that's basically a small biome set up for them. And I feed them leafy greens and oats and different supplements so that when I feed them to my other bugs, I know that I'm feeding my other bugs good, healthy bugs. So the problem, though, is that the crickets breed and chirping crickets are just going to happen. So... darn. All right. Let's get into our broadcast. And our good news broadcast is broken up into 4 major categories, and those categories are science and technology, health and medicine, flora and fauna, aka plants and animals, and wholesome notes, the really nice touchy-feely articles that we like to end on. We've got 8 amazing articles tonight, so we are going to start off in category 1, science and technology. Hey, Ice Knight. Circle of life, they said. Yep. He's already starting. All right. Let's get into science and technology. We've got 1 article in here, and we called it KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. I will copy and paste this into the chat if y'all want to check it out. I'd also in the chat love for everyone to give producer Donna a big round of applause. Today has been a weird day for me, and I have been behind the 8 ball on pretty much everything I've been trying to do. Producer Donna got everything set up for this episode. There is quite a bit of work that goes into like the hour or two before Nick's news, and producer Donna took care of all of it. I am unbelievably appreciative. So thank you very much, producer Donna. All right. A deceptively simple idea could revolutionize volcanic eruption forecasting. This was published to SciTech Daily on February 4th, 2026 by the GFZ Helmholtz Center for Geosciences. A new seismic detection method reveals faint ground signals that precede volcanic eruptions, offering earlier and simpler warnings. Getting reliable eruption warnings to the right people fast enough to matter is still one of the hardest problems in hazard science. A new study in Nature Communications describes a deceptively simple idea from the Institut de Physique du Globe de Paris, or the IPGP, and the GFZ Helmholtz Center for Geosciences. Instead of relying on dense networks of instruments, their method, called JERK, can work with measurements from a single broadband seismometer. The key is sensitivity to motions so small they sit far below what most people imagine as an earthquake. The system watches for tiny shifts tied to magma pushing its way underground, and it does this continuously in real time. When the researchers ran the approach for 10 years at a volcanological observatory on La Réunion, it flagged 92% of the 24 eruptions recorded between 2014 and 2023, with alerts arriving anywhere from minutes to 8 hours before magma reached the surface. Some alarms did not end in an eruption, yet 14% of warnings were still meaningful because they captured magma movement that stalled before breaking through. Why that matters goes beyond this one volcano. Many dangerous volcanoes have limited monitoring, and even well-equipped sites can be overwhelmed by noisy signals that are hard to interpret quickly. A tool that can extract useful early information from minimal hardware could widen access to eruption forecasting, especially where budgets, terrain, or infrastructure make large sensor networks unrealistic. Producer Donna says, "There's my revenge. French." Getting me to say things in French is just a treat, I'm sure. Or any other language. I'm just not good at them. Volcanoes often change their behavior before erupting. Seismic activity can shift, the ground can deform, and gas flow or gas composition can vary. The problem is not a lack of clues. The challenge is turning those clues into a dependable forecast of whether an eruption is coming and what it might look like, including its timing, duration, and strength, without creating costly false alarms that erode public trust. Many forecasting efforts lean on probabilistic, that is a word, strategies that search for statistical relationships in large data sets. The team led by Dr. Francois Bottichel, I think it's Dr. Francois Bottichel, working with Dr. Philippe Wisset in Potsdam, took a more direct route aimed at automation. Their jerk approach focuses on extremely subtle ground motions linked into deep magma injections. Usually, man, I am butchering this. Holy crap. The French is strong with this one. Their jerk approach focuses on extremely subtle ground motions linked to deep magma injections, using a signal type that is easy to miss unless you know exactly what to look for. These jerk signals show up as very low frequency transients, i.e., impulse like transition or settling signals observed in horizontal ground motion, both in acceleration and tilt. The authors argue they likely reflect dynamic rock fracturing as magma forces open pathways below the surface. The signals are extraordinarily small, on the order of a few nanometers per second cubed, which helps explain why a single very broadband seismometer is essential, since it can track both slow tilting and faint accelerations. Hi, Waffle. To make the system practical for round-the-clock use, the researchers added dedicated processing steps, i.e., including correction for Earth tides, so the daily rhythmic flexing of the planet does not masquerade as volcanic unrest. The result is an automatic warning that triggers when the characteristic signal rises above a threshold, turning an otherwise invisible rumble of magma movement into a clear, time-stamped alert. In April 2014, the tool was implemented at the Piton de la Fournaise Volcanological Observatory, run by the Institut de Physique du Globe de Paris, the IPGP, of the Université Cité Paris, the OVPF-IPGP, Reunion Island, as a fully automated module of the WebOBS system, using data from a broadband seismological station of the Global Geoscope Network located 8 kilometers from the summit of the volcano, Rivière de l'Est. On June 20th of 2014, a first alert was sent 1 hour and 2 minutes before the start of an eruption. Charlie in the chat goes, omelette du fromage. I think that defined an entire generation worth of French. For more than 10 years, this jerk signal detection and analysis system operated continuously, issuing automatic alerts for 92% of the 24 eruptions that occurred between 2014 and 2023. Warning times varied from a few minutes to 8.5 hours. Wait a second. Isn't that the same? Did this article just... It's just repeating data. Yeah, it's just repeating it again. Really? They didn't proofread this article very well. Because it's just repeating the same information we've already gone over. The warning times vary between a few minutes to 8.5 hours. 92% were captured. It's really cool that they caught all of this. The great originality of this work lies in the fact that the jerk method was tested and validated in real time in an automatic and unsupervised manner for more than 10 years, and not in post-processing of data, as is the case in the vast majority of studies of eruptive precursors published in the literature, explains Dr. Philippe Wisset, co-author of the study and scientist in GFZ Section 2.2 Geophysical Imaging. Different font, says Becky. The system, however, did sometimes produce false positives. Clear alerts, but not followed by eruptions. It occurred 14% of the time. However, they all turned out to be real magma intrusions. They're just aborted eruptions, basically, where it didn't breach the surface. In addition to the effectiveness of the jerk alert for eruptions, the tool proves to be a perfect and unequivocal detector of magmatic intrusions, resumed Philippe Wisset. This was also the case during the last seismic crisis at Piton de la Fournaise on December 5th of 2025. Associated with low deformations and gas anomalies, a small jerk signal was emitted, only 0.1 nanometers per second cubed, confirming that a magma intrusion did take place. In principle, the researchers believe that following the more than 10-year real-time run and successful evaluation on La Réunion, the jerk tool could be used as a simple and effective method of early warning of volcanic eruptions on other volcanoes which are less well instrumented. At the same time, the scientists want to further evaluate their method and, in particular, test it on other active volcanoes, starting with Etna in Italy, where the project Phosphordike aiming at detecting the jerk signal, will use a new network of broadband seismometers from the GIPP Geophysical Instrumental Pool of Potsdam. The deployment should begin in 2026 in collaboration with the INGV, Italy, and will be supported by the project Safator, which researches the use of optic fiber cables for earthquake and volcanic eruption early warning. That is really neat. To everybody involved with a 10-year study on coming up with a new way to detect when a volcanic eruption is set to occur, and proving out a new piece of technology that can do it. Cheers. Ooh. I'm going to take another sip to wet my whistle, because sometimes those sci-tech articles are really long-winded. I'll top my beer off. There was still a little bit left in that can. Beautiful artwork on the can. I absolutely love the race cars. All right. So that's going to get us out of science and technology. We're going to move on to category 2, health and medicine. We've got one article in this category, and we called it "When Mom Says No, Ask Grandma." I will copy and paste this into the chat if y'all want to check it out. Dapper Craftsman asks, if you drop soap on the floor, is the soap dirty or the floor clean? That is an existential crisis. Celestial says, my niece had a shirt like that. If you drop soap on the floor, is the soap dirty or the floor clean? That's a good one to think about. I think a spot of the floor may become clean, but the soap is now dirty. All right, let's get into this article. Taking care of grandkids may give the brain a boost, study says. This was published to Nice News on January 29th of 2026 by Stephanie Friedman. Having a grandparent around to babysit can give parents much-needed time off to catch up on self-care, but grandparents themselves may reap some health benefits from this arrangement too. A new study published by the American Psychological Association suggests that looking after grandkids can boost cognitive abilities and, in some cases, slow cognitive decline. I swear I'll get through this article. Some previous research has suggested that consistent grandchild caregiving improves cognitive functioning. In the recent study, the authors not only evaluated the significance of caregiving frequency, but also delved deeper into specifics, comparing grandfathers to grandmothers and the impacts of different activities. Many grandparents provide regular care for their grandchildren, care that supports families and society more broadly. Lead author Flavia Chiriches said in a press release. An open question, however, is whether caregiving for grandchildren may also benefit grandparents themselves. In this research, we wanted to see if providing grandchild care might benefit grandparents' health, potentially slowing down cognitive decline. She and her colleagues used data from nearly 3,000 grandparents aged 50 and older, with a mean age of 67, who had completed surveys and taken cognitive tests 3 times between 2016 and 2022. The grandparents studied had provided supplementary care to their grandkids, didn't live in nursing homes, and reported themselves to be cognitively healthy. Survey questions involved frequency of care and the type of activities participants did with their grandkids, such as playing with them, making meals for them, and helping them with homework. The cognitive tests evaluated episodic memory and verbal fluency, or the ability to quickly retrieve and express words. The findings? For both grandmothers and grandfathers, caregiving was associated with higher levels of verbal fluency and episodic memory. Caregiving grandmothers also experienced slower decline over time than non-caregiving grandmothers, although the number of days spent caregiving was not associated one way or the other with cognitive decline. As far as the type of activities performed, the researchers discovered that grandparents who frequently participated in leisure activities and helped kids with homework displayed higher cognitive functioning levels. But overall, whether or not a grandparent was a caregiver mattered most. What stood out most to us was that being a caregiving grandparent seemed to matter more for cognitive functioning than how other grandparents provided care or what exactly they did with their grandchildren, said Shirishis. More research is needed to replicate these findings, yet, if there are benefits associated with caregiving for grandparents, they might not depend on how often care is provided, or on the specific activities done with grandchildren, but rather on the broader experience of being involved with caregiving. However, she added that further research should also be done to determine if family dynamics play a role as well. Providing care voluntarily within a supportive family environment may have different effects for grandparents than caregiving in a more stressful environment, where they feel unsupported or feel that the caregiving is not voluntary or a burden. That is really cool and an interesting study. To everybody involved in this study with the American Psychological Association, finding a correlation between cognitive health and caregiving in grandparents. Cheers. Charlie says that she's going to yeet her kids at her mother. Her mom is going to live forever. Celestial Wolf says, I wonder if it's just grandchildren, or if older people just like being around kids. My mom, in her 60s, has been babysitting her friend's kid for like 7 years now since she was a baby. That's really cool. Kudos to your mom. Charlie follows up, this does explain a lot. Honestly, all of my grandparents, great-grandparents, etc. lived hella long, and all had roles in raising us kids and cousins. Really neat. Celestial Wolf, I feel like being around kids has the opposite effect on me. Well, I don't think everyone will have the same, will be affected the same, but it is a very interesting study, and I hope to see more research done on it. Okay, let's see here. That's going to get us out of health and medicine. We're going to move on to Category 3, Flora and Fauna, aka plants and animals. And we have 3 articles in this section. We're going to start off, of course, with an obligatory cat article. Haven't had one of those in a little while, so I will copy and paste this into the chat if y'all want to check it out. Lincoln woman rescues malnourished baby bobcat. That spooked the hell out of me. Lincoln woman rescues malnourished baby bobcat. Nebraska Wildlife Rehab now restoring her back to health. That was the temperature gauge for Elmira Hug and Kiss's tank. It's got a suction pad, and it just came loose. I'll have to put that back up after the episode. That really did just scare the hell out of me, though. It wasn't a bug itself. Elmira Hug and Kiss is still asleep, so... But that was definitely spooky. Alright, let's get into this article. A Lincoln woman opened her door to a wild surprise earlier this month. It was an unusual encounter for... Oh, sorry. This was published to Nebraska Now on February 2nd of 2026 by Emma Norwood. Dapper Craftsman says, I am in the walls. Oh, no. A Lincoln woman opened her door to a wild surprise earlier this month. It was an unusual encounter for Jackie Haymaker, who watched a baby bobcat walk right up to her front porch. Because of the frigid temperatures, Haymaker opened up her garage to the cat, luring her in with droppings of food. Haymaker said she immediately noticed how malnourished the animal looked. but also how well it took to people, which was not normal. It is a bobcat. We put it down on a sleeping bag, and I got a couple of space heaters, put some food and water out, and it started eating, she said. I pet it on the head, and it started purring. I thought, what a beautiful exotic cat. Somebody's lost their cat. Haymaker took to social media, posting the bobcat on the Lincoln Lost Dogs and Cats page. There, she received a ton of comments from others who were just as shocked. I was just surprised that it was a bobcat, Haymaker said. When I opened the door and stepped over her, she didn't even move. She decided to call Nebraska Wildlife Rehab, which made the trip from Omaha to Lincoln. The team quickly noticed how much help the bobcat needed. By this time of year, she should probably be about 20 pounds, said Laura Statsny, the executive director of Nebraska Wildlife Rehab. She wouldn't be an independent cat if she were raised in the wild. She would still be with her mother. But she is less than 10 pounds in weight, and she is quite thin, almost emaciated. The team took the bobcat's blood and performed multiple tests. A little while later, the bobcat began having a seizure, which was cause for more concern. Stastny said it'll be a long road to recovery, but without Haymaker taking her in, it could have been very different. She's been on medication to keep her stable, she said. She's been doing well and gaining weight and eating. Now it's a little bit of a wait and see to see how she recovers. Unfortunately, she is really tame. She won't be a candidate to be re-released into the wild. That is crazy. To Jackie Haymaker for casting fear to the wind and taking care of a malnourished baby bobcat until a wildlife center could pick it up to give it further aid. And to the bobcat, hoping the best for the bobcat, and kudos to the Nebraska Wildlife Rehab for helping out. Cheers. Oh, and to Chris, because Chris sent that article in. Thank you very much, Chris. Cheers. Thank you, Producer Donna. Celestial Wolf says, I hope the baby recovers. One of my cats has epilepsy, and it's really scary to watch kitties have seizures. I agree. Dapper Craftsman asks, if you are waiting for the waiter, are you the waiter? You're the waiter waiting on the waiter. Of course, when we have a obligatory cat article, we have to follow it up with some heckin' good boys. So, this next one is a heckin' good boy article. I will copy and paste this into the chat if y'all want to check it out. Celestial Wolf said, or are you the weighted? The weighted sounds like something out of Destiny. These incarcerated men trained guide dogs in prison. Their success inspired 11 more programs nationwide. This was published to goodgoodgood.co on February 7th of 2026 by Megan Cook. This April marked 1 year since Chase Benoit, a man incarcerated at California's San Quentin Rehabilitation Center, had laid eyes on Wendell, the guide dog he had once trained in prison. But when the Black Retriever locked eyes with Benoit, it was like no time had passed between them. He remembers me for sure. I could tell when he came in, Benoit told Wendell's owner, Robert Quigley, through an American Sign Language interpreter. I'm so happy that you love him, and that you have a bond. James Dern is the National Director of Puppy Programs for Canine Companions, the nonprofit that coordinates the prison program. I think we actually had an article some time ago about this program and just how amazing it is. I swear we've talked about this one before, and I'm so happy to see a follow-up. He told the Associated Press that dogs trained within their programs have a 10% higher success rate at becoming service dogs than their counterparts, and estimates that it is because of the time and care incarcerated trainers invest in their students. In April 2023, Benoit became one of 4 incarcerated men who welcomed 4-month-old puppies into their respective cells. Over the course of a year, the men shared the responsibility of raising the dogs and teaching them 20 skills. Every 3 months, the puppies were taken out for socialization field trips in grocery stores and public parks. Between 16 and 17 months old, the dogs completed their training with professional dog trainers before being paired with their current owners. Owners like Benjamin Carter, who received his service dog, Artemis, from the program at no cost. He is responsive when he's working. He is cuddly when he is off the clock. He's an amazing companion, Carter told the Associated Press. And all that structure and love and trust was built from these guys here, so I'm just super grateful to them. Today, the San Quentin program has quadrupled in size, with 16 trainers currently raising 8 puppies. Since San Quentin joined Canine Companions in 2023, 11 more correctional facilities have followed suit. Being in this program, it's given me something that I think I've searched for my whole life, Benoit said. And that was meaningful purpose, doing something that's good, better, bigger than myself, and feeling like I'm part of something great. To everybody involved with the San Quentin Rehabilitation Center, taking part alongside Canine Companions to raise service dogs that are given to the people that need them free of charge. Heckin' good boys. Cheers. All right, final article here in Flora and Fauna. We called this article Simba, Rembrandt Who You Are. I will copy and paste this into the chat for y'all to check it out. We are seriously out to get sued by Disney, I swear. Rembrandt lion drawing estimated to sell for $20 million, with proceeds benefiting Wildcat.org. See the symbolic accompanying piece. This was published on February 2nd of 2026 to Nice News by Rebecca Brands. A rare drawing of a lioness by 17th century Dutch artist Rembrandt van Rijn. I actually don't know how Rembrandt's last name goes. So I'm going to say Van Rijn. I could be wrong with that. Is headed to the auction block with a profound mission behind its sale. All proceeds, an estimated $20 million, will benefit global wildcat conservation group Panthera. Young Lion Resting will be auctioned Wednesday at Sotheby's, New York, timed to the 20th anniversary of the nonprofit, which was co-founded by Thomas Kaplan, a billionaire art collector, philanthropist, and current co-owner of the drawing. Circa 1638 to 1642, the piece is one of 3 Rembrandt drawings created of the same lioness using black and white chalk and a gray wash. The other 2 are held in the British Museum. But beginning today, visitors to Sotheby's can view another, more symbolic piece of art, a replica of the drawing with its subject missing. Titled Young Lion Vanished, the accompanying piece represents the dire conservation crisis the big cats are facing, and what will happen if collective action isn't taken to save the species. Lion populations have plummeted by nearly 90% in the last century, from nearly 200,000 individuals to just over 20,000 today, per Panthera. Young Lion Resting reminds us what it looks and feels like when a species still belongs to the world of the living, Kaplan told Nice News. Young Lion Vanished asks the harder question: what happens when it no longer does? And yet this is not a mere rhetorical question, with the lion having disappeared from 26 of the 48 countries in which they once roamed free. Art has always been a mirror. In this particular moment, it's also a warning. Through efforts across 39 countries, Panthera helps protect the world's 40 wild cat species and their ecosystems. A team of biologists, law enforcement agents, data scientists, and other experts work together to study and safeguard the 7 big cat species: lions, tigers, leopards, snow leopards, pumas, jaguars, and cheetahs. Its Small Cats program leads conservation initiatives for the most threatened and often overlooked smaller species, like southern Africa's diminutive black-footed cat and the Eurasian lynx. I am blessed to have multiple passions, most of them, Rembrandt included, deriving from youthful influences. But one surpasses all others, said Kaplan. Wildcat conservation became my greatest passion because wildcats are the ultimate truth-tellers of the natural world. Where they survive, ecosystems are still functioning. Where they are disappearing, something fundamental has already gone wrong. Kaplan and his wife, Daphne Recanati Kaplan, co-founded the Leiden Collection, which comprises around 220 works, including Young Lion Resting, and is named after Rembrandt's hometown in the Netherlands. The couple co-own the drawing with philanthropist John Ayers, who serves on the board of Panthera. Future generations don't need another lion preserved on paper. They need lions alive in the wild, said Kaplan. If this work can help secure that future, then parting with it constitutes for us and our children the ultimate affirmation of the values of stewardship and conservation that we hold so dear and try to live by. That is really cool. And we have an update. It looks like Becky actually beat us to the pass and posted it in the chat. Young Lion Resting sold for $17,860,000 at Sotheby's in New York City on February 4th. $17,860,000 going straight to the organization Panthera, which does everything in its power to help protect the species and ecosystems of big and small cats. That is amazing. To everybody involved in this, including, most of the time, we're not much for thanking billionaires for things. But in this case, I think I will say thanks to Thomas Kaplan for parting with this piece of art and putting all of the proceeds towards Panthera. So, to everybody involved, cheers. A title in post, but that's all right. All right. That's going to get us out of flora and fauna. We are going to get into category 4, the wholesome notes. We have 3 articles in here for you, and I hope you're ready for all of them. This first one is definitely not all heroes wear capes. I will copy and paste this article in the chat if you want to check it out. And again, or I didn't say it earlier, I usually do sometime during the broadcast. All of the articles that we present and read are in the description of the video, so if you want to check them out at your leisure, by all means. I highly encourage you to check them out. Look at updates to them, etc. They're all amazing. Or check out the sites that we get them from. Seriously, like Nice News, goodgoodgood.co, Live Science, SciTech Daily, all of them are amazing and great sites to learn about things that we sometimes don't hear about because a lot of this stuff gets buried. So if I start crying during this one, I'm not crying, you're crying, but this is definitely not all heroes wear capes. So here we go. Most important trek. Snowplow driver helps transport sick baby to hospital during storm. This was published to 7 News, WWNY TV, on January 27th, 2026 by Brooklyn Andres and Jordan Gardner. A snowplow driver from the Ohio Department of Transportation helped clear snow-covered roads for an ambulance to get a sick baby to the hospital amid treacherous driving conditions over the weekend of that week. Joe Estes said he had received a call about 20 minutes into his Sunday shift requesting help for an ambulance transport. A baby boy named Bryson needed immediate transport to Cincinnati Children's Hospital Medical Center for a higher level of care, but a storm had moved through the area and made roads nearly impassable. I got a call and they said, "We've got a sick baby. We need to get there, but we're losing our window of time," Estes said. Kelly Bessel, part of Cincinnati Children's transporting team, said the crew knew roads would be impassable for an ambulance alone, so they called ODOT for help clearing the way. Estes cleared miles of roadway with the transport team carrying Bryson following. It's probably the most important trek of my ODOT career. It wasn't just pushing snow. It was getting this ambulance to this hospital safely and back, Estes said. In the tri-state area, was hit hard with snow and ice over that weekend, thanks to a historic winter storm that blanketed multiple states, including the state that I live in, Michigan. The Ohio Department of Transportation said its drivers worked more than 30 hours over 3 days to make as many roadways passable as possible. The respiratory therapist on board the transport met Estes for the first time on Monday and thanked him for his help. "It was great. We had him," Estes, on the phone a couple times, and he was like, "Just tell me exactly what you guys need and where we're going," the therapist recalled. The transport team said baby Bryson and his family are safe and doing well following the hospital visit. Estes said the experience was meaningful as a parent. "As a parent myself, knowing I played a small role in helping this ambulance and this child and his family make it and whatever procedure they needed, it's a feel-good story," he said. Estes also stressed the importance of staying home during severe weather to allow emergency responders and road crews to work safely. "We see them every day, fire trucks, police, ambulances, and we just ask drivers to give us room to work so these real heroes can get where they need to be," Estes said. Members of the transport team said they had never dealt with a situation like this before and were grateful ODOT was able to make the transport possible. To Joe Estes and the entire crew of that ambulance from Cincinnati Children's Hospital Medical Center, taking care of a baby boy named Bryson in a time of crisis, and to Joe for clearing the way. I think there's a video, too, that was caught by, I know there's a picture, but I'm pretty sure there was a video, and it might be I think it's, front and center in the article that shows Joe clearing the path for this ambulance. It really is something else to everybody involved. Not all heroes wear capes. Cheers. We call this next one Giving Thanks Through Art. I'll copy and paste this one in the chat. I'll tell you what, Nice News has definitely racked up some good ones for us this week. After healing from a broken leg, 90-year-old artist painted 18 portraits to thank her caregivers. This was published to Nice News on February 3rd, 2026 by Stephanie Friedman. Caregivers at the Pennsylvania retirement community walked into work this past fall to a sweet surprise. Resident Ava Lou Damianos had been secretly painting their portraits for months, and each of their likenesses was on display in the wellness center. The 90-year-old was inspired to paint the 18 healthcare workers following a particularly difficult time. After she broke her leg over the summer, her doctor ordered her to refrain from standing on it for 10 weeks. Not only did the team at Longwood at Oak Mounts Nursing Center help turn the long days of recovery into a really good experience, Damianos told Nice News, but they also became her cheerleaders, prompting her to thank them through art. It's a wonderful feeling to know you are appreciated and seen, Longwood certified nursing assistant Billy Maxim Brenner said in a release about the portraits. Added fellow certified nursing assistant Erica Sibley, "It feels good that someone would paint a picture of me. I love the connection we have with residents. I love that I get to put a smile on their face and let them know they're cared for." Damianos is no novice painter. Her love for the craft began when she studied fine arts at Carnegie Mellon University from 1953 to 1957. In the years since, she's taught classes at the university, held private shows at locations like the Carnegie Museum of Art, and been commissioned by organizations like the Pittsburgh Center for the Arts. When Damianos moved into Longwood 8 years ago, she pivoted from painting large acrylic canvases, which the center doesn't have space for, to watercolor. While she's largely stayed away from portraits, she explained that the nurses, aides, and therapists were very patient, very upbeat, always pleasant, during her recovery. So she took their pictures and saved them for when she was able to paint again. One nursing assistant in particular left a strong impression on Damianos. She would come into her room in the mornings to wake her up by simply opening the blinds. I said to her, "Why are you so quiet? I do hear you, but it's so gentle awakening. Just to have you open the blinds," Damianos recounted. And she said, "When I was a young mother, I awakened my children by putting a warm washcloth on their face. I thought, that is incredible. Who would do that for their kids?" And she was the type of person. So once Damianos transitioned from a wheelchair to a walker, she spent 2 months completing the portraits. She'd occasionally work on 2 at a time, starting the second while the first was drying. She would come together in 8 or 9 hours, while others required the artist to split the work up over several sessions. By the time they were all complete, the team had mostly forgotten about the pictures she'd taken of them. But when they were able to see their portraits at the Wellness Center throughout November and December, they were very pleased, Damianos said, adding that one of the physical therapists showed me a picture that he took of himself, a selfie, beside his portrait, and he said, "Look, it really looks like me." That was a sign of a job well done for Damianos. The real gift of the whole experience, though, was the relationships she built along the way. On December 28th, she gifted the portraits to the team members during a reception, and on the day of our interview, which was January 9th, Damianos ran into 3 of her caregivers. They came over and said how much they really enjoyed their portraits. So 3 different people that I've seen subsequent to their paintings and to the reception and so forth came up and remarked again about how pleased they were. "So that was very special," she said, "and I feel that they're like friends now. They give me hugs, I give them hugs, and it's just very, very nice." To Ava Lou Damianos and to the 18 caregivers that made a difference in her recovery from a broken leg, and were rewarded for such amazing behavior and such niceness and goodness, with portraits from this 90-year-old woman, this 90-year-old artist. Cheers. Producer Donna said, "Some of the portraits are shown in the article. They are lovely. I wholeheartedly agree." I would check them out as well as any other links involved with that one to see the creations of Ms. Damianos, of the caregivers that made it all made a huge difference for her while she was recovering from a broken leg. All right, we've got our last article of the night, and this one is a Saviors of All Ages article. So again, I'm not crying, you're crying. This is some pretty incredible stuff. I will copy and paste this into the chat if y'all want to check it out. And again, all these links are in the description. Check them out at your leisure, but we highly encourage you to do so. The people that write these articles and publish them take a lot of time to do so. They put a lot of effort into them. So they deserve just as much, they deserve credit for these things. So. Australian boy, 13, swims for 4 hours to save family swept out to sea. This was published to the CBC on February 3rd, 2026 by the Associated Press. A 13-year-old boy is credited with saving the lives of his mother and 2 younger siblings with an hours-long swim after the family was swept out to sea off the Australian coast. Austin Appleby swam 4 kilometers to shore to raise the alarm after he got into difficulties on Friday with his mother, Joan Appleby, 47, brother Bo, 12, and sister Grace, 8, police said. Austin said he initially set off for help on an inflatable kayak that was taking water. He abandoned the kayak, then took off his life jacket because it impeded his swimming. He said he tried to focus on positive thoughts as he swam for around 4 hours through rough seas for shore, raising the alarm at 6 p.m. The waves are massive and I have no life jacket on. I just kept thinking, just keep swimming, Austin said on Tuesday. And then I made it to shore and I hit the bottom of the beach and I just collapsed. The family from the state capital, Perth, were on vacation and were using kayaks and paddle boards hired from their hotel around noon when rough ocean and wind conditions started dragging them out to sea. A search helicopter found the mom and 2 children wearing life jackets and clinging to a paddleboard at 8:30 p.m., police said. They had drifted 14 kilometers from Quindaloop in Western Australia state after spending up to 10 hours in the water. The actions of the 13-year-old boy cannot be praised highly enough. His determination and courage ultimately saved the lives of his mother and siblings, Inspector James Bradley said. Joan Appleby told reporters on Tuesday she sent her oldest child for help because she could not leave the 3 children. One of the hardest decisions I ever had to make was to say to Austin, try to get to shore and get some help. This could get really serious really quickly, she told Australian Broadcasting Corp. She said that she was confident he would reach shore, but was filled with doubt as the sun set and help had not arrived. We kept positive. We were singing and we were joking, and we were treating it as a bit of a game until the sun started to go down, and that's when it was getting very choppy. Very big waves, she said. The 3 were all shivering, and Bo had lost sensation in his legs because of the cold by the time they were rescued, the mom said. I have 3 babies. All 3 made it. That was all that mattered. All 4 family members were medically assessed, but none required hospital admission. To Austin Appleby, a 13-year-old who swam 4 kilometers for hours off the coast of Australia to get help for his mother and his siblings. You are a savior of all ages. Cheers. Charlie in the chat said, this just proves to me more Australians are built different. Such an amazing and strong kid. That really is amazing. Just 4 kilometers of swimming in rough, dangerous waters to get help. Unbelievable. All right. Well, that's going to do it for us tonight. Thank you all again for tuning in or catching the replay on the Nick's News YouTube channel. Again, we're live every Sunday, normally, and our next episode is going to be on February 15th, 2026. We encourage participation, so by all means, if you feel inclined to post suggestions or for news brews, shoutouts, news quotes, and especially good news articles that we can present on future episodes, we're all for them. If possible, we'd like you to send a variety of articles spread out across our 4 major categories, which again are science and technology, health and medicine, flora and fauna, aka plants and animals, and wholesome notes. The really nice stuff we like to end on, like people painting portraits of the people that take care of them, and 13-year-olds that take it upon themselves to swim 4 kilometers to save their whole family. You can message us on Facebook or Instagram or email us at somebudgetstudios@gmail.com. Links are in the description of this video. Feel free to like, subscribe, or comment on our content across Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. We've got all of them going to get good news and joy out into those algorithms. Please, no SEO improvement advertisements, no advertisements. We're doing this all by word of mouth, and y'all continue to make it work. Y'all continue to spread Nick's News and continue to grow Nick's News, and I can't thank you all enough. It really has been something else. So, as always, thank you again. I love you all. Have a great night, and I will play us out.